The accident happened on a narrow road not far from the family's home. One moment their daughter was outside playing. The next moment, neighbors were running toward the street after hearing the sound of a crash. Within minutes, an ambulance arrived and rushed the child to the hospital. Her parents, Daniel and Miriam, arrived shortly after. Their faces carried the fear every parent understands when a child is lying behind emergency room doors. Doctors moved quickly through the hallway. Nurses spoke in short, urgent sentences. Medical equipment rolled past. Then the waiting began. Minutes passed, then more minutes. The tension in the hallway grew heavier with every passing second. Finally, a doctor stepped out to meet them. The medical report was difficult to hear. Their daughter had suffered serious injury to her spine during the accident. The doctors had stabilized her condition, but the damage had affected the nerves that controlled movement in her legs. The doctor explained the situation carefully. In many cases like this, recovery takes a long time. In some cases, the ability to walk never returns. Those words landed slowly. Daniel lowered his head. Miriam felt sad. Just hours earlier, their child had been running freely outside. Now, the future looked uncertain. Inside the hospital room, their daughter lay still while machines monitored her condition. When she woke later that day, confusion filled her face as she tried to understand what had happened. Doctors began early therapy sessions during the following days. Nurses helped her sit up. Therapists carefully guided simple exercises, but her legs showed no movement. Weeks passed inside the hospital walls. Tests continued. Specialists reviewed the scans again and again. Each report carried the same cautious conclusion. The injury was severe. The family returned home after a few weeks with a wheelchair and a schedule of rehabilitation appointments. Life changed overnight. Simple routines became difficult tasks. Moving around the house required planning. Every day included therapy exercises and medical visits. For Daniel, the emotional weight was heavy. He focused on practical responsibilities, making adjustments in the house and arranging transportation for therapy sessions. Miriam carried a different burden. Each evening, after the house grew still, she knelt beside her daughter's bed and prayed. Her prayers were not long speeches. They were simple words spoken with deep conviction. Day after day, morning and night. Weeks slowly turned into months. Rehabilitation continued, but progress seemed slow. Therapists worked patiently, encouraging small improvements in strength and balance. Still, the legs remained weak and unresponsive. Many people around the family tried to offer comfort. Friends visited, church members prayed with them, but the medical reports remained cautious. Recovery, if it came at all, would take time. Some evenings, Miriam sat alone in the living room after everyone had gone to bed. The house would be silent, except for the faint sound of traffic outside. Those were the moments when her prayers grew deeper. She did not ignore the reality the doctors described. She understood the seriousness of the injury, but she also held tightly to a steady kind of hope that refuses to disappear. Each new day, she helped her daughter through the exercises recommended by the therapists. She encouraged patience during difficult moments. She continued the routine of hospital visits and rehabilitation sessions, and she continued praying. Months passed. One afternoon, during a therapy session, the therapist asked the child to try shifting her weight while standing between support bars. The exercise had been attempted many times before. Usually, nothing changed. This time, something felt slightly different. The therapist noticed a faint response in the muscles of the legs. It was small, almost easy to miss, but it was there. Encouraged by the sign, the therapy team adjusted the exercises. They focused on strengthening the muscles that had remained inactive for months.
progress remained slow. Some days nothing seemed to improve. Other days showed small changes. Still, Miriam continued the same routine each night. Prayer, quiet moments of reflection, faith that refused to weaken. 4 months after the accident, another therapy session began like any other.
The child was placed between the support bars again. The therapist carefully guided her into a standing position while monitoring the strength in her legs. Then, something unexpected happened. For the first time since the accident, the legs held a little weight without assistance. Only for a few seconds, but long enough for everyone in the room to notice. The therapist remained calm, but encouraged another attempt. Again, the child pushed gently against the bars. Again, the legs supported her. The moment lasted longer this time. Within weeks, the therapy exercises began producing clearer results. Strength returned gradually. Movement improved step by step. Doctors watched the progress with cautious interest. Spinal injuries rarely follow predictable patterns, they explained. Occasionally, the body begins to recover in ways that medical science cannot fully explain. Rehabilitation continued with renewed focus. Soon, the child was able to take a few assisted steps during therapy sessions. Those steps were slow and uncertain, but they marked an important turning point. Day after day, the distance increased. First a few steps, then several more. Eventually, the wheelchair was no longer needed for short distances. When the family returned to the hospital for a follow-up examination several weeks later, the same doctor who had delivered the early diagnosis reviewed the progress reports carefully. He looked at the improvement in muscle response, balance, and coordination. Then he looked again. The recovery had moved far beyond what the early reports predicted. Outside the hospital, the child took her first steps without support. Each movement uncertain, yet full of life. Daniel and Miriam watched, hearts swelling with relief and awe. Months of fear, endless visits, long nights spent in quiet prayer. Every whispered word, every tear shed in hope, every hand lifted in trust, it all mattered. Their story is a reminder for all of us. Prayer carries power, even when answers seem delayed. Hope can carry you through the heaviest moments. Trust in God can guide you when life feels uncertain. Take a moment. Pray. Keep believing. Act in faith, even in small ways. Watch how persistence, hope, and prayer can change your life miraculously. Your next step, your next prayer, could be the moment everything begins to shift.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please don't forget to do so. Your support helps us to keep creating amazing content like this.